Hi there. In this video, we'll be covering what are the first steps in writing a book. This is the process that every book should follow, and following these steps will help you save tons of time and effort. By the end of this video, you will learn how to develop your book's hook, the role of an outline, and the importance of understanding your book's audience. And stay tuned till the end of this video for a free tip. Let's dive in. Developing your hook is the single most important thing you can do when writing a book. It's the central theme, it's a central topic, it's everything that the book encapsulates. It's what the reader is going to take away from it and carry forward with them into the world. If you think about what the reader is going to write on Amazon, what do you want them to write? What do you want them to say? What do you want them to think about your book? You want them to have the same feeling about the book that you do, kind of repeated back to you. You want them to take away the exact thing from the book that you were trying to convey to them. You don't want them to be confused or unclear about what the central focus is and what they can learn from it. Sometimes developing that hook is something that is easy to find. It might happen right away. And sometimes it actually comes through at the very end of the process. You know, I recently worked on a book where it was a back and forth over the course of 10, 11, 12 months with the person I was working with. And eventually we got to the point where we figured out what the book hook was, what we were trying to say, and then we could actually orient the entire book around that central theme. If you don't have that central theme or topic figured out, it's really tough to figure out where you're going and also the reader journey, what the reader's going to take away from it. Your outline is so important, so important. And if you don't have a right outline, you're going to spend tons of time and effort doing things that aren't going to matter. You're going to end up wasting time. You're going to end up going off track, veering off course. It's so easy to get off track if you don't have an outline figured out. Some people do lots of writing without an outline. Kudos to them. I really credit them. I think that's great. I don't work that way, and I find that it's so much easier to have an outline because then I can figure out, based on that outline, how much effort and energy I have to spend on each area of the book. You know, maybe there's a chapter that requires tons of research and interviews and input and feedback and all these different things. You're going to accordingly spend more of your time on that chapter than you are on the chapter where you have everything lined up and you just have to write it out, or you have the ideas in your head and you just need to bring them forward. You're going to spend time and effort based on the outline. And the outline is going to tie back to the hook in every single way. Every single chapter is going to orient towards the hook. You know, in terms of the outline, I often think about inside and outside the frame. You think of a picture, painting on the wall. What is inside the frame? You know, what's inside the frame of the book? You know, it really is crucial to be able to spend the time on the things that are inside the frame of the book. Otherwise, you're going to be writing chapters that have nothing to do with the actual book. You're going to be drifting off track. One of the people I worked with in writing their book had tons and tons of stories from his childhood. And he had all of these stories written out, and he wanted to include all of them. And as we've sorted out the stories and worked through them, we realized that some of them didn't actually fit into the book itself based on the focus. They were great stories, but they didn't fit, so we had to remove them. It was difficult removing them because they were really meaningful and powerful stories, but they didn't fit in this book. You know, maybe he ends up telling them in another way. Maybe he ends up putting them online or talking about them in speeches, but they don't fit in the book. And actually, when you find things that you've written that don't fit inside the book, you can use them as add-on material online. You can say, hey, this is a story that didn't make the cut for the book, but I'm sharing it here. If there's sections of the book that end up getting cut or trimmed in the editing process, you can actually put them online or share them in a different capacity. That way your story's getting told while also recognizing that they're not part of the central book. I had that happen to me in a number of books that I've written where I love the story, I sent it for editing, the story got cut, and I understood why. There's a redundancy, it was too similar to other areas of the book. So it got trimmed, and then I said, okay, I'm gonna go put this online, and I'm gonna share it that way, and it was great. The other central element of your book process is your audience. Your audience is huge. You need to figure out who your audience is and who you're writing for. Otherwise, it's going to be really tough to connect to that audience properly. You know, there's so many times when people will write a book intending for one specific audience, and it ends up not connecting with that audience. And it's typically because they didn't write to that audience properly. The audience is such a crucial part of your book, and it's important to tap into the right audience. It's important to write to that audience, and it's important to know who that audience is, because if you think about the hook and you think about the message that they want to carry into the world, you want to get it to the right people that they can carry that message. Understanding your audience is a huge part of understanding your book and orienting your book properly to hit the right message and to hit the right people. So often when people write a book, they think that their book is for everybody, that anybody should read this book. There is not a single book in the world that is for everybody. You never want the book to be for everybody, because if it's for everybody, it's for nobody. You haven't figured out who the book is for, and that's a really big struggle. You know, you think of the most popular books in the world, even the Bible. The Bible's not for everybody. You know, you think of super popular books, even Harry Potter. It's not for everybody. No book is for everybody, because if a book is for everybody, it's for nobody. And that's a big struggle. You know, I've dealt with a lot of people who think their book is for everybody, and I have to stop them and say, no, it's not. No, please, no. Let's figure out who this book is actually for. You know, and a lot of times there's more than one audience. There might be a core specific group that you're targeting, and then a secondary audience that also fits, that you're also going to think about as you write the book. But no, your book is not for everybody. No book is for everybody. If you don't figure out who your book is for, it's never going to reach its full potential. And that even involves the publication and marketing process. If you don't know who your book is for, which outlets are you going to pursue in order to get publicity for your book? You know, positioning is a huge part of the marketing process, and that journey is so crucial to tapping into those markets. You need to be able to figure out who you're getting to, and then you can actually plan your media appearances accordingly. Because if you are booking interviews and opportunities with the wrong outlets, you're never going to find your audience. You're going to just pursue the wrong audience, and you might get interviews, but they won't lead to sales. So the audience element is huge through every step of the entire process. With a lot of the projects I've worked on, and I've ghostwritten 25 books at this point, I often find that people will do a lot of writing, maybe they even worked with another ghostwriter, and they actually haven't figured out the hook, the outline, and the audience. Even after working on their book for a year, they might not figure it out. They might not have it unlocked. And until you do those things, the book is going to be incomplete. It's going to be unclear. It's not going to connect. And it's going to save so much time and energy and effort if you can figure those things out earlier in the process. If you can actually orient the writing and the effort into hook, outline, and audience work, it's going to save you so much strife and struggle later. You know, as you write the book and as you get a draft complete, if you're only figuring those things out after that point, how far off course could you be? You could be far off course. You could find out that your book actually isn't saying the right things. You know, then you need to rewrite parts of it because it doesn't actually speak to the right audience. So it's crucial to figure out those elements as soon as possible and to fill in the work accordingly from there. If you want to learn more about book writing and ghostwriting, head to my website, goodghostwriter.com. You can click the link below. You can sign up for my free emails where I offer tips and insights into the book writing and ghostwriting process. You also have the opportunity to book a call with me, one-on-one, a free strategy call where we can talk about your book and I can offer input and guidance on how to write your book and how to bring it forward. For more tips like this, like and subscribe to this channel. Remember, good ghostwriting makes great books. I'm Dan Good. Thanks for watching.